Was it good? Baby moves. Agent Pro.
Is that age and pronoun, yeah?
Yes, please.
30, him.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
The third point.
Okay, sure. Could you tell me how men are the protectors?
No, I want to ask you a question, innit?
But you disagree with the prompt. Isn't that what you're here to talk about?
Yeah. So I want to say you and your partner, yeah, and your child, they're walking down the street, yeah. A man comes to come and rape you and your partner.
Right. TikTok friendly language, or you're gonna have to get dropped. So let's not. Yeah. All right. Let's try again.
Well, I'll say grape, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, grape violently attacker, yeah. So what are you doing in that situation?
Yeah, I'll do my best to diffuse the situation. Tell me, is that going to be a man or a woman that's trying to do that?
Okay, you're gonna do your best to diffuse the situation. That doesn't work.
Well, then that would be the same to any man where it doesn't work. I could say the same hypothetical. Now what?
Okay, so what are you gonna do when diffusing it doesn't work?
Well, then that's no different to any man who tries to diffuse it in his own way. Trying to diffuse it means trying to stop it, right?
Okay, and then the guy.
Anytime you say that, I'm going to say the same hypothetical to you. What happens if that happens to you and you don't diffuse it and you don't
Okay,
stop it?
you're trying to diffuse it. Okay, cool. So why are you diffusing it before your wife is trying to diffuse it? You've decided to diffuse it first. Does that not?
I think equally my partner would as well, especially when you're talking about our
Okay,
child.
cool. Okay, so you're both protectors and providers right now. You're trying to diffuse the situation. That does not work. It gets physical. What are you doing?
Again, we're both not going to just do nothing. We will both get involved.
Okay.
My partner won't stand there and just not do anything.
Okay, so how you're gonna approach the situation is gonna be exactly how a woman would approach it. That's what you're saying, yeah?
I have no idea. I'll be honest with you. I've not been in that situation to be able to turn around and say to you, I know exactly what I'm going to do when that happens. Like, I wouldn't know because that catches you off guard, right? You don't expect it to happen. The point that I think you're missing is you're bringing a hypothetical as if men are doing this every day to you and other people you know.
No, this happens in the world every day.
Sure, by who?
This happens. Men try and rape women with men in South Africa.
The last
Sorry,
chance you didn't
my bad. In South Africa, this happens.
Stop. You're like, I'm hearing you, but you're not answering my questions.
Yeah, but you're not letting me finish. Stop. Let me get my point
That's
across.
important.
Yeah,
By
let me
who?
just finish my point and then I'll hear you. Yeah, in South Africa, people come to at gunpoint, try and do crazy stuff to people at people's families, and even though people pass their money to them, they will shoot them anyway because they're psychopaths. Men have to defend against people like that.
You need to
You have
stop
the-
the language, seriously. All right? You
I'm
can
not
talk
saying
about-
anything. I haven't used that word yet. I don't know what language you're
The
talking about
only
now.
word, it's not the only word that you can't say online, right? I'm just saying TikTok will remove you. So just think about the words you're saying. Again, I'm still going to push back on you answering the question, which is who are the ones committing these crimes?
I don't. What do you mean? Who are the ones coming? Are you saying that this does not occur? Are you saying? Are you saying violent men don't try and do this across to other people? Weak men try and move to them, try and rob them, try and steal from them. Are you saying that does happen?
I just need you to answer the question. I don't know why you keep diverting. It's a simple
What
question.
you want me to get? What do you want me to give you someone's name?
No, I want you to tell me if they're men or women.
Men attacking other men and women.
Right, okay,
Men
so-
with women. Men
so
with
stop.
kids.
So stop. So we can recognize that while you're calling men protectors, you're calling men predators at the same time. Okay?
Okay, so protectors. So if predators exist, men have to protect against them, right? If you're a rightful man.
The only reason men will be protectors is on the basis that men cause violence in the first place. Otherwise,
That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant to the point. Are they protectors or not? That is irrelevant.
It's completely irrelevant because you're saying that for a man to be a protector, he can only fulfill that role if men are causing harm. Otherwise, how else are men protecting?
So are men causing harm? That's the question I'm asking you. Yes or no?
You're still not answering mine. Every time I ask, you divert away to something else.
Okay,
right?
no, okay. So say what you just said again.
So the only way for men to be a protector is on the basis of men causing harm. Otherwise, how else are men protecting?
Anyone causing it could be men, it could be animals. Back 1,000 years ago, it could have been animals,
You're
mate.
not answering my question. How else are men protecting?
Against animals and men.
Where are we being attacked by animals?
In society, people get attacked. Murders happen every day. Rapes happen every day.
What, by animals?
No, I'm saying people do that every day in society, different parts of the world.
Again,
Men have to
are the
put
ones
men.
that are doing this.
Okay, correct. And men have to protect against that. Men have to protect against evil in whatever form that it comes across.
So you're willing to concede that men are protectors and predators?
Predators come in every form. Yes, a lot of them are men. What's your point? Predators
You can't be
exist.
both. You can't if you've given labels to men, protectors and providers, you might as well add in predators in that as well. Why is that not the case? Why are
Yes,
men?
I'm saying predators exist and
That's
protectors
not what I
exist
asked
as
you.
well.
Okay, so fine. So you're saying men are predators as well.
Men are, of course, predators exist and they happen to be men. Yes, of course.
Okay. So then how
So,
can
in
men,
the same fashion, do you say men are men exist in this world who are protectors as well? Maybe you ain't, but there are men who live their life trying to be a protector for their family. Okay, so we can, and so to okay, in the same way, there's women who are trying to rape children as well, children as well.
keep on saying the same words, and I told you if you keep on using it, you're going to get dropped. Fairly simple. I think what you need to do is go look up the word disproportionate. All right, because you're not understanding the prompt. Like you're trying to defend men when you're not acknowledging the problems of men. Well, that was a fast-paced start to the live, wasn't it? Anyway, afternoon, everyone. Apologies to those that may have been triggered from what was said in that conversation. TX Horn, body count does not matter. It's your interpretation of what that body count means to you that matters. It doesn't mean the body count itself matters, it's how you view it that matters. And the way you view it is misogyny or insecurity. Oh, baby moves, you can take that as whatever you like, but next time just put a red flag in your name so that people are aware. That would save everyone a lot of time. Pretty Green Eyes have been good. I hope you're well. Good to see you. .L, hope you're well as well. Gosh, 5 miles. That's good. That's good. I would not be able to do that, especially in this heat right now. Gosh, no way. Bear with me, just putting the phone on charge. And hold on, it's my writer. Missy. Promiscuity is not limited to body count. So again, like being a woman and being a feminist doesn't remove the fact that what you're saying is not factual. Women who are feminists can still have internalized misogyny. That doesn't make you immune to the concept. Sure, so if a man asked a woman what her body count was, and she said 2, and then he thought that meant that she wasn't promiscuous because she's only had schmex twice, but she's done other schmexual stuff with 50 different men. If men knew that information, they'd probably call her promiscuous. So that's not limited to body count. But as people are asking in the chat, which disorders are you talking about? Okay, again, you being alarmed is just either an insecurity or internalized misogyny. Why would you be alarmed? Someone might not enjoy schmex or want to have schmex. You'd suddenly be alarmed about that? You still haven't answered what people are asking about which disorder. JS, age and pronouns, please.
22. He.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Body count doesn't matter.
Sure. What do you want to say about it?
I believe that it matters for some people. It matters for a lot of people, and for those people that it matters to, it's very much relevant for them, and yeah, that's their preference, and they should be allowed to have said preference. Women also could have preference as well in regards to the amount of men, like they might not want a guy who's a womanizer, for example, or has many women, etc. Same way a man wouldn't want to be the promiscuous woman who had a lot of sexual history, and people are allowed to have these preferences.
So preferences are rooted in something. So can you tell me why you would prefer to be with a woman with a low body count?
Because into values,
What value?
how I view sex is it's a thing that you do. It's a very intimate act, and
Okay.
it should only be done. Well, in most cases, it should happen with someone you have a deep emotional connection with. And me personally, if a woman, for example, I'm just gonna throw a random number out there, 80 or something. If she slept with 80 people, I'm gonna assume that she doesn't value sex in the same way I do, because I doubt she's gonna have 80 personal connections with all these men.
Okay.
So
Let's say you went on a date with a woman and
yeah,
you said to her, "How do you view schmex?"
yeah.
And she said, "I think it's okay to be done outside of, a relationship." Would you continue to get to know her to possibly be in a relationship with her?
Obviously, I understand that things happen. Like if you're getting to know someone on a deep level, and you're not maybe in a relationship with them yet, or like you're on that. That's the intention at the end of the day. If it's in that context,
Your value, yeah.
maybe I may overlook. But in terms of like the overall,
But then
like just
your values,
one night stand one night stands or something, someone you don't know their name or
but
things
JS,
like
your,
that.
your values aren't that important to you because you believe that schmex should be done when it's really in an intimate relationship with someone. And I'm saying,
I said personal connection.
yeah, but what I'm saying is if she has responded to you
Yeah.
that she doesn't believe that schmex has to be done in that way, you already know now that your values on schmex are different. So why would you continue getting to know her for a potential relationship if
Yeah,
you
I probably wouldn't.
perfect? So this is my point, right? If you wouldn't, that's because your views on schmex are different. But her body count could be 2. So it's not a body count issue. It's just how you view schmex.
No, it is a body count issue.
It's not, because in that situation, as I said to you, if her body count was 2, then her body count is considered low.
Okay, but
And you wouldn't date her because of her values towards body count or towards schmeck. So that's an entirely different thing.
Okay, but I'm just gonna say the body count is a quick indicator of her values. So I wouldn't waste my time. I wouldn't waste my time getting to know someone if I just know their body count.
Yeah, but
So
hold on.
if their body count was 80, I wouldn't invest my time to even get to a point where I'm taking on a date to even have that conversation. I already know. Okay, her body count is 80. She's a promiscuous
What
lady.
number
We're
is
not
two?
gonna. Um, 10,
And how old are you?
22.
Okay, so let's say a woman had schmex when she was between the ages of 17 and 18 9 times. And then from the ages of 19 to 22, she was in a 3-year committed relationship. She broke up from that relationship. She's now over him and she's looking to get into another relationship.
Yeah, what about the first 9 times?
Yeah, the first 9 times was during a time when she wanted to explore her body, get to know herself a bit more,
Yeah,
and then she wanted to get into.
that's not for me.
Okay, so yeah, so you're judging a woman of having autonomy over her own body and what she wants to do with it, because for you, you don't think that makes her viable for a relationship.
No, I don't know why you had to frame it like that. It's not has nothing to do with her having autonomy. It's just not what I'd want. It's not decision making that I'd want my partner to have.
But why is that an issue when she was in a committed 3-year relationship?
No, but before that though. What
Yeah.
about
Again, why are you interested in what she's done before who she is today? The last thing she done was be in a 3-year committed relationship. So why are you interested in what she did 3.5 years ago?
Okay, so are you saying what if she changed her mind in regards to how she viewed it? Because
No,
the first one to
I'm saying
because
that
the first
she.
because the first 1 to 9 times, I don't like she shouldn't have acted in that way in the first place.
That's a projection of your opinion. That's not a fact. So that
Yeah,
again
but
is
but relationships are all personal to us. We all go for people who reflect like similar opinions of how we view the world and how we view life. So my opinion is very important for me. Same way your important is very important for you when you're finding a partner. I
my
wouldn't
opinion is
disregard
not
that.
holding a harmful narrative towards how a woman decides to, choose what she does with her body. Yours
Not a
is.
harmful narrative because a woman
You're
would
thinking of
say,
her as less than because she had schmex 9 times,
"I'm
and
not.
now for
I'm,
some reason that's not okay for you.
no, I'm
What are
not
you
thinking
worried
of her
about?
less. I'm not thinking of her less than. She just wouldn't be my woman, but I still respect her as a human being.
So wait, so
She just,
you're saying
I
that
just
if
wouldn't be.
you
I just wouldn't be in a relationship with her.
so how okay, so if you were never allowed to ask a woman her body count, would you stay single for the rest of your life?
No, because I can indicate
Mm-mm.
like
No, no,
through certain conversations and lifestyle.
contradicted yourself. You just
Through
contradicted yourself.
no, because I can indicate. I can kind of like guess whether a woman's promiscuous or
No,
not
you
through her
can't.
lifestyle.
No,
Yeah, I
you
can.
can't. No, you
Yes, I
can't.
can. I have my
I mean,
I
you
have
could
my.
choose to, but it doesn't make you right. Like that's the point, right? Because if you can
What do you-
indicate, then you never need to ask a woman her body count, right? Because you know.
No, but you asked a specific question. If I couldn't,
But you're
I'm saying
missing the
if I couldn't,
point.
I would just. If I couldn't,
Yes.
I would just guess.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, but that's the point, right? Is if you are guessing, you are leading with the insecurity of that guess. And if you
Not
are that good at guessing, then technically you don't need to ever ask because you can just guess.
no, but I would always ask though.
Oh, that's insecure or misogynistic then that you need to ask that.
No, but you give a specific scenario. If you could never ask,
Yeah, but
then
that's because it
due to the way she lives her life and certain things through conversation, then I'll be able to have a rough indication of like how high or low her body count is. For example, maybe she goes clubbing every weekend. She l- l- talks to a lot of guys. Then I can just naturally you can
that's
just
guessing.
gauge the type of person she is. This is not rocket science. If she's like in the church, like not that just because you're in the church means
Guessing.
your
That's
body
the
count
you're,
is low.
you're just
But
guessing, which
for
means it's full of
example,
judgments.
no, that's because of the specific scenario you gave me.
Yeah, but
But
I
it's my
did that to
preference,
test that
though.
your
It's
logic
my
was
preference.
consistent, and it wasn't.
It's
That's
not a
why.
look. What?
I did that to test whether your logic was consistent, and your
It
logic
is
wasn't.
consistent. How is it not consistent?
I already told you how it wasn't because you would basically say that you would guess, and that doesn't mean you would know, and therefore you could end up being with a woman if you're not allowed to ask her body count.
Yep.
You could end up being with a woman who you feel is right for you, and all the while she could have a body count of 30, and you wouldn't have a
Yeah,
clue
but
because you
yeah,
guessed incorrectly.
based on my guess, it'll be similar values. Like for example, I don't like going to the club every week Saturday night. If she likes going to a club every Saturday night and getting drunk and going home with guys and stuff, I don't need to ask your body count. I could just kind of gauge the type of individual you are because I wouldn't do that. I don't pick up girls every
There are
Saturday.
women who could have a high body count who don't do those things specifically.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I could guess. If you gave me the scenario where I couldn't ask, I would just be able to gauge and I'll just like leave that situation alone because we clearly don't have the same values.
The point is you
Because
wouldn't.
people who do that tend to be promiscuous, men and women.
Okay, Jess, we're going to pause and let Kitty join because you're not listening to me. I'm telling you that every time you guess, it means you don't know factually. And if you don't know
Yeah,
factually, that means you could end up with someone with a high body count in that situation. You
yeah,
wouldn't know.
it's possible. It's
Well,
possible.
then, so
But
if it's possible, then it could
obviously,
work and you wouldn't know. So let me pass over
it's,
to Kitty. Hi, Kitty.
Hi, Kitty, 42, she, her. Just first of all, if we can just ensure we're not all interrupting each other as people who are trying to access this live using screen readers, it just makes it difficult for them and more challenging if we're interrupting. So my question is, what exactly about a woman's lifestyle tells you something factual in regards to that they may have a high body count?
obviously nothing's factual because you never really truly someone knows someone's life. But if we're just going off like probabilities, just general stuff, maybe like going to the club every Saturday night, getting drunk, going home with different people, just these like lifestyle choices, it's just usually of someone who engages in consistent promiscuous acts. So if I was to speak to a woman and this is something that they told me that they do, I would just, using my initiative and intuition, I'll just guess that's the type of person they are. And same way for me, if I was the type of guy who every Saturday night I'm going to the club, I'm getting drunk, I'm bringing girls home and
Women.
stuff. I'm bringing girls home and stuff.
Women.
I'm assuming the woman will also feel, okay, this is a promiscuous man too. Obviously, she doesn't. It's not factual. Nothing's factual because you don't actually know my life. But using your brain and your intuition, those are things that judgment you would make. We make judgment about people all the time. It's just human nature.
But it's guesswork and assumptions and
guesswork, but you
judgment.
don't. It's guesswork, but when you're getting to know someone to potentially be in a relationship, you don't want to waste time, so you kind of have to go off first impressions. You're gonna go off first impression. You're not gonna give the benefit of the doubt in that scenario, especially if you're a person who dates intentionally for like a proper long-term partner.
So
Of everything, you never really know someone's life, but you gotta go off like just likelihood.
so assumptions. It's not so.
Yeah, but the
Hang on.
assumptions are grounded in something. It's not random.
Guesswork though. That's literally, you've used the word guess. I asked what factual chat. I'm aware of the ableism. Thank you. What factual thing about someone's lifestyle?
Of course, nothing is
can
factual.
you tell what their body count is? And there's nothing there that is factual. That was my question.
Yeah, and my whole point that I just said, like, of course, nothing is factual. You don't know me, I don't know you. I haven't been there for the last 20 years of your life. But based on what you tell me about the way you live and stuff, I can make judgments grounded on something based on what the information you've told me. For example, if someone tells me like she goes to the mosque all the time, or she goes to church all the time, or she doesn't really go out, it doesn't mean she can't have a high body count. It's still very much possible. But based on that, I can make an assumption, maybe this person isn't really promiscuous. Whereas if I speak to a woman, she told me she goes to a club every weekend, she gets drunk, she goes to different guys' houses, da, 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 da. Naturally, I can make that judgment, maybe she, obviously it's still not factual. I don't know that for certain. I don't know her life, but if I'm getting to know someone, I wouldn't waste my time to give the benefit of the doubt. I'll just go off what you've told me. And that's how I'd lead from there, because I'm not trying to waste time when I could just tell. I'll just kind of gauge the type of person you are. And women do the same thing when they're getting to know men. If there's something that they hear based on like conversations they had, they'll cut them off, they'll ghost them. We all do that as people when you want to like find a connection, literally.
So I think for me it was the key point, which we have pretty much said. You will learn nothing factual about that person.
Of course, you don't know anything factual about anyone.
Now, there's nothing. I'm not saying anything about shared values. If you're not someone that particularly likes clubbing, then I can understand why maybe having a partner with the approach of, well, we're not really into that kind of nightlife or that kind of extracurricular activity. I don't know, maybe you both like train spotting or something like that. Who knows? We can understand the point about shared values. The key point is all of these assumptions do not tell us anything factual about a person.
100%.
And these assumptions about someone could mean you could be missing out on a really good interaction just because of these so-called assumptions, which
about people, though. That's natural. You make assumptions about people.
I'm not saying we don't.
Exactly.
All I'm saying is you could be missing out, and we need to remember that assumptions about lifestyle, it doesn't tell you anything factual about
100%.
someone's body count or about someone's sexual past or sexual history. I think that's the key point I'm trying to say. But anyway, I'll drop just now.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, I'll drop just now because I've got another mod up here, Charlotte, who I think would like to chat with you as well, if that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kitty. Appreciate it. Hi, Charlotte.
Thanks.
Hello, Charlotte, 49. She here. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of what's your fear in being with somebody with a high body count? Why are you apprehensive to even entertain it?
It's just a shared values thing, because like me personally, like I value like sex, it's an intimate act. Like I think it's like me as obviously I'm a Christian as well and stuff like that. But even outside of that, I just feel like sex should happen with someone you have a good emotional connection. Like there's a baseline emotional connection with. I don't think you should be just having it with any Tom, Dick, and Harry, just meet and you don't even know their name and stuff like that. I don't think that's the right environment I don't think that's I don't think it's a safe, I don't emotionally and mentally environment to have sex, even like doing that constantly as well. I think that affects people, even like trauma wise as well. So mentally, like boys and girls. So I feel like someone who's been involved participates in that lifestyle quite often, that person just wouldn't be for me. Because even like when you have a lot of partners, like you can have a lot of trauma, someone might have done you wrong, trust issues, stuff like that. I wouldn't want that type of like not only emotional baggage, but that's not just someone I see myself with. And there's a lot of men who also don't see themselves with that type of person. And I think that's fine. Everyone should have their own preference. If you're a man and you don't mind your woman having 200 bodies, that's your prerogative. That's not my business. But me personally, and for a lot of men, they don't want that. And they just shouldn't be shamed for that. We all have our preferences, you know? Literally.
Okay. You said a lot, but you didn't actually answer my question. Yeah, you talked a lot about what you thought it said for the other people, but you haven't actually told me what scares you about it. You've said they might be this, they might be that, but you haven't said, you said the word values, and, you know, Lex has already spoken about that and debunked, because Schmex has nothing to
baggage as well.
Excuse me, you spoke a lot. And Kitty did remind you not to overtalk, if that's okay. You'll know when it's okay to go. Like, no, like I waited for you to stop talking. I will also like come to a close and there will be silence and you can go. Okay. If you want, I'll say when I'm done. You said a lot about the people that, you know, the other people, you spoke a lot about them and what they were doing, and you used the word value, but SMEX has nothing to do with the value of a person. It doesn't take away anything from you. It's just a physical act. It's no different to any other physical act. It doesn't impact you in any way, doesn't alter your body in any way. It doesn't do anything. The baggage that you spoke about, sex, it's SMEX itself doesn't give you any baggage. You're not carrying anything around because you had SMEX with people. However, the behaviors of those people that you might have had SMEX with could possibly leave you with some form of trauma, which I'm assuming you are describing as baggage. Okay. Yeah. But, you know, at the end of the day, you still have not answered my question as to what scares you about being with, what is your fear about being with somebody who has a high body count? What do you think is going to, oh my God.
You asked me a question, I answered.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Can we stop interrupting, please? What is your fear about being with that person? What do you think is going to happen to you or the relationship? You can go.
Yeah, the emotional baggage. So, for example, if someone's been with like a lot of people, let's say 50 people, they've probably had a lot of bad situations that have come out from that, whether that's trust issues or they've been like abused in said relationships with those amount of people.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to mute you because, again, those are behaviors of, no, please don't. Those are the behaviors of those, right? No. I'm going to mute you a second. Those are the behaviors. If you unmute yourself and start talking again, we will drop you from the panel because we're trying to keep it a conversation that people can follow. I'm interrupting you because, again, you haven't listened to a word that I've said. Behaviors cause trauma. Situations cause trauma. The schmecks itself isn't what's leaving trauma behind, unless we are talking about really awful situations where that schmecks was not consensual, in which case it was grape. All right, totally different scenario. We're not talking about people who have been in those situations and are carrying trauma from that. We're talking about normal schmexual encounters. That does not leave anybody baggage. However, the way that they've been treated by the person that they might have had a schmexual encounter with would be the issue. So it's not, body count's the wrong question for you to be asking. It's the wrong conversation for you to be having.
Am I allowed to talk now? Am I allowed to talk now?
Sure.
Yeah, you're talking about the behaviors, but the body count comes with the interaction. So if you slept with 50 people, naturally you're gonna have 50 different interactions, which in those interactions you could have been abused mentally, emotionally, physically, etc., etc. So the body.
I'm just going to drop Charlotte because it's just repeated the same thing and he's not listening.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, anything other than actually tell us what their real fear is, right? Your fear is somebody that's carrying some sort of trauma or, in his words, emotional baggage. So say that then. That's got nothing to do with body count. And I don't know how many times we have to remind people not to interrupt.
Yeah, ultimately, an individual interaction can form that, but that's also something that's not body count related, because that can happen if your body count is 1. Like, that can also happen without having a body count. You can have an interaction with someone that creates some kind of trauma and you haven't had schmecks. That doesn't mean now that you are carrying that trauma because of your body count. Those two are not linked.
No, exactly. Anyway, I shall drop.
Thanks, Charlotte. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Right, let's go with... I don't know who in the chat, or who in the request, sorry, is a man that disagrees. Let's go with user. Hey, G-Wash, good to see you again. Who's that girl, Kate and Democracy? Can you just let me know if you are men that disagree? And if so, I will accept your request. Okay, I've seen your request again. Can you let me know in the chat if you're a man that disagrees, please? Guys, good to see you. Okay, I still haven't had a message in the chat. Who's that girl? Okay, yeah, we're looking for men who disagree to join the panel. This live is about men unpacking their misogyny, oftentimes also insecurities, but yeah. Red Guardian, can you let me know which prompt you disagree with, please? Fish Sticks, this is only for men because it's about men unpacking their misogyny. Kay, if you want to talk about that in the chat, that's absolutely fine, but I'm looking for men up here to disagree. Tochi, hey, you sound triggered, buddy. Ah, I see, yeah. I'm keeping the panel open, Red Guardian, for those that disagree. Sorry, buddy. They do, but it takes time. Who's that girl? It does take time. Appreciate the follow. Chetno. Thanks, Red Guardian. Appreciate it. Thanks, Choice. Oso, thank you for the follow. See how that flowed. That was pretty good. That. Love that. My left arm is getting really warm because the sun is just right in on that side. T, thank you so much for that. Clumsy Corgi, thank you for the follow as well. from the UK, Natalie. Appreciate the follow, thank you. Margaritas, thank you for the follow as well. Oh, right at the ankle. Superwoman needs coffee. Love that name. I don't know whether it necessarily stems from it, but 100% can be linked to it. Depends on what it is that men are supposedly lustful over. Do you believe in God? No, absolutely not. Bex, I should be live for another maybe hour. Another hour, and then I'll be live again this evening. What do you mean, absolutely not? I don't know how much clearer I can get than that. Sorry. Like, I absolutely don't believe in religion. I'm not sure how else I can word that. Maybe no? Clumsy, you can follow on other platforms if you like. That would be amazing. For those of you that are new here, all of the lives do get uploaded. So if you ever wanted to catch up on any lives you've missed, that would be amazing. It's called Lex_therapy #1. Explains a lot. Hey, I'd say the same to anyone that was religious and had views that would disagree with this. I'd say that explains a lot as well. So that was a moot point, pretty pointless to say, if that was also directed at me. If not, then I'd retract it. I'm guessing you never had a present father. Well, Slat, I'm so glad you said that. We literally just had a man come up here who spoke about how he would be able to guess what a woman's body count was. And I just thought, you wouldn't, because men think that they know these things. And you're now the second person to prove my point. So thank you. Thank you for that. You actually, men like you do the work for us, by the way. Yeah. Curious, thank you for the follow. Hello. Wait, I did click accept. Oh, no? Yes, no? Accidental? No? I don't know what's going on. Oh, bless you.
Hi, it was accidental. I was eating and I was trying to mod simultaneously and I hit the button and here I am. Kitty42, she, her. What I will say though is there are religious people in this chat. We can be respectful to each other. We don't want to focus too heavily on religion within this space and any friendlies, you know the reasons why. So can we just sidestep now? Someone asked a question, Lex answered it, let's move on. Okay, onwards. Oh, Max, I'm having pepperoni pizza. For those that care. Yeah, well, make it about me. Thank you so much, Slat. I don't often make it about me. Anyone in the space will actually tell you how little I enjoy being perceived. But you know what? While I'm up here, yeah, sure. I will center myself for once. Anything else you want to share in terms of hate? I'm here for it.
Well, they can't. They've been muted, Kitty.
Ooh, who was that?
Oh, I don't know. I just. No.
Max.
Oh,
Claudine.
Go on, Claudine.
Go on, Claudine. Right, anyway, there's 2 people on the request. Let's go.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Vic, age and pronouns, please.
Oh, hello?
Hello, age and pronouns, please.
22, and is it okay if I'm a girl and talk?
I am looking for men who disagree, I'm afraid.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just wanted to say something on the last one, but it's okay. I'll leave if that's okay.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you do want to put it in the chat, though, people are more than happy to respond. And hopefully, competition will be had. Hello, age and pronouns, please.
Yo, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
18 male, he, him.
Thank you.
Also, like, by the way, when I said why, absolutely not. I just meant it in a sense like as it like the way you said absolutely not. You said it in a way like it was an obvious like decision to not believe in God. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's obvious, but I hear what you're saying. Like, to other people, it might not be. But yeah, I don't. Which prompt do you?
I'll disagree with the second prompt.
Okay. What do you want to say about it?
I just wanted to hear your justification for it.
Sure. So I think that body count doesn't tell you anything factual about who a person is. And I think that if a man has an issue with a woman's body count, it's rooted in misogyny or insecurities. And that's what matters to them rather than the body count itself, because their interpretation of it comes from one of those two things.
So it would be misogynistic to judge someone for having a high body count.
Or insecure. It depends on the reasons they give.
Okay.
So if two men were standing in front of one woman and her body count was, say, 50, and you had one man who didn't care and one man that did, I'm saying the man that does care is because misogyny or insecurities have triggered within him to feel a certain way about that information presented to him.
Yeah, can you be more specific there? What about misogynism? What about insecurity?
So some men will say that women have no self-respect, they're low value, they can't keep their legs closed, they'll compare them to lock and key analogies, or, you don't want to drive a car with high mileage, or a car that's had many drivers. That would be misogyny because it's dehumanizing, degrading, and objectifying language to describe a woman's choices for having schmecks. The insecure side might be that they are men who are worried about how they might not be able to live up to the standards that other men have performed in the bedroom, that maybe they might be comparing the size, or that they might cheat on them. Those would be insecure reasons as to thinking that the relationship isn't going to work just because of information that they've been led to believe is equated to a high body count.
Okay, let's talk about the self-respect reason. So
Sure.
if a woman has well, how do you define self-respect first?
It's a good question. I think it's to each to their own, right? Like, I don't think self-respect is defined by who you've chosen to have schmecks with. So I would say self-respect is just like the way in which you treat other people, in terms of like not also allowing other people to treat you in a certain way. Like, so having boundaries, having like being able to stand up for yourself in situations. Like respecting yourself is kind of saying, I won't tolerate certain behaviors around me, calling out people around you. That's quite self-respecting. The choices that you make with your friendship groups, like, as people put in the chat, the key is self, right? It's how you view respecting yourself, not for someone else to impose onto you.
So someone can define like their own self-respect?
Their own, yeah, but not then project onto other people. So you might think, I think that not having schmecks with people is self-respect, but that would be for you. If you then think this other woman doesn't have self-respect because you wouldn't do what she's decided to do, that doesn't actually mean she has low self-respect. It means you view her that way.
Okay, but if the definition is going to be subjective, why is it going to be wrong for someone to say that a woman with a high body count has no self-respect?
Because it's not factual, and women in the past have always been shamed and controlled with their bodies on the basis of schmecks.
But when he says that, is he wrong?
Sorry?
When he says that, is he wrong?
Yes, because women have always been judged for...
But you just said that it's going to be a subjective definition, meaning it's not going to be right or wrong.
He's wrong to make that assertion about her, yeah.
So it's going to be objectively wrong.
Well, it's not factual, is it?
But is it going to be objectively wrong?
I don't see how that's relevant. It's like...
It is relevant because...
I've made it perfectly clear that what he is saying about her is not factual information, therefore it's an opinion. So therefore, what does that opinion do in terms of the harm that it causes? And I'm saying if you link that to history, we can see that women have always been policed on their bodies through things like purity culture.
Okay, but notice how when you say it's an opinion, we know opinions are going to be subjective. So for him to say that he's not going to be objectively wrong, he's not going to be wrong to say a woman with a high body count has no self-respect, given that the definition of self-respect is going to be subjective, meaning he's not going to be wrong.
Well, he is going to be wrong because he's just viewing it through the lens of what he thinks it means.
So if he is going to be wrong, then it's going to be factual, correct?
No, because he'd be wrong.
So meaning it would be factual. There's an objective right or wrong.
I don't know. You sound like you're trying to go down the route of being a debate, bro, and that's not what we're here for. Like, it's an educational life to understand the impact of those opinions that are being projected onto someone. So if you think she has low self-respect, that does not mean she does.
Okay, if I say she has no self-respect because she has a high body count, is that statement true or false?
False.
Why?
Because you can't determine her self-respect. You are just placing your opinions on self-respect onto her. You are defining her self-respect.
Okay, good. So this is what you're not getting. So it's my opinion, right?
Correct.
Can opinions be wrong?
Opinions are wrong if they're not facts.
Can opinions be wrong?
No, because that would be a fact.
Okay, so if opinions can't be wrong, my opinion isn't wrong.
You're going down a debate, bro, topic.
You're not answering the question. So now that we know opinions can't be wrong, so it's not going to be incorrect for me to say that a woman with a high body count has no self-respect, right?
Technically, if you're going down this route, an opinion can't be factual because otherwise it would be a fact, not an opinion.
Okay, good. So it's not wrong. It's not incorrect. It's not factually incorrect for me to say a woman with a high body count has no self-respect, correct?
That would be wrong for you to say.
Oh my goodness, so it's not an opinion, bro.
There is an opinion because it's not a fact.
So if it's an opinion, then it's not wrong for me to say that. Can opinions be wrong?
It is wrong for you to say that. If you're projecting your opinion onto someone and it's relating to her value, then yes, that would be wrong for you to say because you'd be upholding misogyny.
So it's not an opinion then.
Okay, I'll tell you what, when you want to have an authentic conversation, come back. Because all you're trying to do is get caught up on these words of opinions and facts. And it's like, you're missing the point that's being made.
You're missing the point. If it's an opinion, it cannot be objectively wrong.
I'm not.
Can opinions be wrong?
If you are not going to say something about someone that is factual, you are projecting. And that projection in itself upholds misogyny. Okay? That's it. If you don't like it, that's fine, but that's just your misogyny that you would need to unpack.
Bro, stop muting me. Why are you panicking?
You're being muted because you keep interrupting.
I didn't even talk.
Well, you were, that's why.
I wasn't talking for like the past 20 seconds when you were speaking. You're panicking.
Sorry, is that an opinion or a fact? Exactly. So now you know the difference. now you know the difference between an opinion and a fact, right? Gosh. Truly, age and pronouns, please.
Hello?
Oh yeah, age and pronouns, please.
Can you hear me? I'm 17. He, him.
Let's say 18 plus, I'm afraid. As much as I like the way that interaction ended, unfortunately, that did kind of encapsulate it, right? The assumption that he made about me wasn't factual, so it's a projection. The assumption you make about a woman having low self-respect, not factual, it's a projection. I don't know how else I can explain it, genuinely. Casper, can you let me know which one you disagree with? Because the majority of the time, if I'm not mistaken, you actually agree. Well, Sam, apparently I was panicking, so I try my best. If it's on another live, then I probably won't be talking about it. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello, Charlotte, 49 she, her. I don't know if he's still here, but just to reiterate, we're trying to keep this. This is normally Kitty's thing, so like, I feel like I'm being an imposter to Kitty. We're trying to keep the space inclusive, and the over talking helps nobody. If obviously a conversation is running away, then the mods might mute just to try and halt the conversation to bring it back in line, which is what I did earlier. But also, if they over talk, we as mods, obviously not on the panel, are going to mute them because people can't track the conversation if they're using devices on their phones and on their iPads, etc., however they're viewing the live. But, you know, for him to say you're panicking, he obviously doesn't realise that there is a number of us here. It's very rarely you that will mute. It's normally us lot that are keeping an eye and muting if they're over talking or saying like harmful things. I know you do as well, but generally speaking, like for me, I muted him a number of times and there is usually a delay. So he obviously felt like he was getting muted mid-convo, but that's because he was over speaking in the first place. So just to kind of reiterate that, if he is still listening, Lex was not panicking because Lex wasn't the one that was muting you, I was. So you can take that as you wish. But just a reminder for everybody that's here that there are a number of amazing people here who have the ability to mod, mute, and everything else, you know, block, and so on, mute people for live. If you're not new here, then, you know, the rules are consistently, you know, put in there about no ableism, no homophobia, no racism, etc. If you're unsure, we will give warnings. We will say to you, please don't do that, please don't do this, watch yourself, be respectful, and so on. And if you don't listen, then obviously you will get muted or blocked, etc. But just to clarify, Lex was not panicking.
I didn't think I was.
No, you certainly weren't. But I think he thought that it was you that was doing the muting. So, and that you were losing some. I think he was in an argument with himself because you certainly weren't arguing with him. You weren't debating with him. And I think he thought that you were panicking because you were, and I'm using air quotes here, losing. So, yeah, because it was very debate, bro. But so just to clarify, not a debate. We do have rules here to try and keep the live inclusive. And if you come up against those rules, you don't listen, then you will face the consequences. So it is what it is.
Indeed. Thank you for explaining, Charlotte. Appreciate it.
No worries. Bye. This is Kitty number 2. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Vic, I'm not mistaken, you were already up here earlier. Kevin, age and pronouns, please.
Hello.
Hiya.
My name is Kelvin. Male.
And your pronouns?
Is
And your age?
29.
Thank you. Which prompt do you disagree with?
Men are not protectors or providers.
Okay. Can you tell me in what ways men are protectors?
If men are not protectors, who's not protecting society from evil?
From men?
No, not from men. Generally, if men are not protectors, who is not doing the protecting in society?
But again, like, what's the protection? Like, what's being protected from? I don't like. That's what I need to understand, so I can then explain who's protecting.
Generally, when it comes to life, there's good and bad people, obviously. So men are mostly the ones doing the protecting from other bad people.
Okay, right.
And in this case, you're going to say men.
Well, no, that is true. Like, we can't deny it statistically. Like, again, without sounding too, repeated from previous conversations, but that would be a fact, right? So my question would be, why isn't it framed, if men weren't causing harm, would protection be needed?
Okay, are you saying that we should live in a world that there's no evil, nothing like that? That's what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is that we need to be educating men at earlier ages in schools, and parenting also needs to be inclusive of that in the ways in which we are raising boys to not be upholding the levels of harm that men are right now for the next generation. So, like, am I saying that all harm can completely be eliminated? Of course not.
That's my point.
What I am saying is that your point pushes the notion that the only ways men can be protectors is if there are men out there causing harm. And I'm saying men aren't causing harm. How are men protecting?
But at the end of the day, me as a man, I cannot control all the actions of other men.
Okay. But then we have to concede men are also predators, and then we can't say men are both.
Yes. I can agree with that. Men are protectors. I mean, men are predators too. So I agree with that fact. That's the truth.
I don't think they can be both. I don't think men can be predators.
They cannot. Okay. They cannot be both. According to it, they cannot be both. First of all, who are the ones doing the protecting right now in society? Men.
No.
Who are the okay. When it comes to the military, police, and everything,
okay, so let's go with that.
Who has the higher percentage?
Let's go with that. So, what country do you live in?
I come from Nigeria.
Okay, so I live in the UK. The statistics in the UK show that 0.46% of men in the UK are in the police force. 0.23% of men in the UK are in the military, and less than that are in the firefighters. So in the UK, out of all the men that live here, less than 1% of those men are in those protective roles that you spoke about, right? That's a small amount. And that's what you wanted to lead with in terms of how men are protecting. But you're missing out the other 99% of men. Now, do you think that working with vulnerable people is a form of protection?
No, that's not my point. Obviously, I can't see that's the case. I can't agree with that because I need protecting. So I'm trying to tell you, my point from this argument, going back and forth, is that men can still be protectors and men can still cause harm. That's my point. That's just my point.
Sorry, what I wanted to ask, I had a follow-up to what I said earlier about the men, 1%. I'm just asking, do you think that working with vulnerable people can be a form of protection?
What makes them vulnerable? From what?
So like the elderly or children, people that might require some level of support. Would you say that the people that are providing that are protectors?
You can say that, yeah. I can agree with that. They are protected in one shape or form. That's true.
Cool. So I would say then that the majority of these protective roles are held by women, which is nurses, mental health practitioners, teachers, carers, nannies, childminders, babysitters, midwives. Those are all protective roles where the majority are held by women, similar to when you say the police force and military are held by men. So in society, we have women who hold 20 to 30% of protective roles, and we have men that are between 9 and 10. So I would argue that if anything, women statistically protect more. And the difference here is that when men are called upon to quote unquote protect, your two examples was the police and military. And the majority of the time, statistically, if both of them are being called upon, it's because men have caused an issue to begin with. Whereas women in those fields where they are protecting, they are not harming children and putting them in schools to protect them. They're not harming the elderly and putting them in care homes to protect them. They're not harming individuals on a level of mental health where then counseling is needed to protect them. Women aren't actually causing the problem, whereas men are. I would say that's another reason why that goes against men being protectors. So I'm not saying that women are the protectors. I'm just saying that statistically, based on your point, you'd have to say that women are because they have more roles and a higher amount of them are in them.
If you're judging based on statistics, yes, I can say women are protectors. But when we talk about protecting, we always talk about military force first of all.
There we go.
You know that. If we talk about okay, at the time, let me explain my point. When we talk about protecting generally, first of all, we're talking about protecting people from harm, danger, sexual violence. First of all, that's when we talk about protecting. Terrorism and everything.
No, that's what you're talking about. You're cherry picking what you want to focus on.
Okay. I don't want to cherry pick. I want to work with what your analogy and everything. Okay, when we talk about protecting, we're protecting children, vulnerable people.
No. Protecting as a whole does not mean let's focus on one form of protection, right? When men talk about protection, they talk about physicality. That's what men focus on. I physically protect because they'll use things like the police, like the military, like you've done, which is on the basis of protecting physically.
Okay,
And when
but
they
if
get
the if okay if the man was not like protecting people from actual okay other men according to okay obviously other men, if the women will not have the space to actually protect their and the children.
sorry, say it again.
I'm saying that if men were not actively protecting people from other men, yes, obviously, I can agree that men are the ones are the main perpetrators of violence. That I can agree with that. I'm saying that if men were not actively protecting we people as from other men, there will not be a safe space for women to actually protect their darlings and the children too.
But then, again, we're coming back to the point I made, which is that for men to be a protector, they need men to cause harm, which means men benefit off of men being violent. And that for me is not a world.
I don't. Like I said before, you're making it seem that okay, the world needs to be perfect. That's what you're saying.
No, I'm saying that for men to fulfill a role on the basis that a man has to do something harmful for that to then exist is not a representation of men protecting. Like,
Okay, but we can agree that there's good and bad people, obviously, over the world.
we all know that, but the point is that the
So why but you're making it seem okay because men are the ones are the main perpetrators of evil. So men protecting men from other men doesn't count.
Kevin, let me rephrase it. Why is it important to you that men are seen as protectors?
I'm not saying it's important to me, but you are trying to like downplay. That's my point. I'm not saying it's important to me. Not really.
No,
It's
I'm
not.
not playing. I'm saying it doesn't exist. I'm not going halfway there. I'm going all the way there because the traditional role of a man has always been in history to be a protector and a provider. And I'm saying that that is something that patriarchy has pushed upon everyone to believe that men are. And because it's never been explored in detail, never been unpacked, we actually have been just conditioned to believe that that's just men's role and that's what they are in society. They're not. Men are not the protectors in society. I just gave you statistics that also demonstrated how women do it more in certain job roles in comparison to men.
Okay. Let me. I want to work with your nuance. You're saying that because women are more present in the care field, like hospitality field, so they are more present there. I think according to statistics, the women are more protected than men. That's what you're saying.
Not even hospitality, just in general. It doesn't have to be hospitality specifically. I think teaching is hospitality.
Okay, teaching is part of hospitality too, in a way, in teaching.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. If we go back to our home as a home, who is really protecting most of the time? Okay. I'll say both parents. I'll say both parents. The man and the woman is doing protecting.
Parents
in the household. Yes. In the household. Yeah, in the household.
Well, wait. Are you asking out of the two parents who are protectors?
No, I'm asking. I'm moving away from hospitality. I'm talking about in household. Who is doing? I'm saying that both parents are doing the protecting, the man and the woman. That's what I'm saying.
Well, the mother probably.
What is the man doing?
Well, the majority of the time, you would say that women are disproportionately the ones that stay at home with the child.
Not every time. Women work this time. Women work these days. They go out to work too.
Majority. We're talking about statistically, right? Statistically, women are the ones that are looking after the child and raising the child while the man is potentially working in a heteronormative example. Statistically, that is what happens.
I don't know about the statistics, so I can't use I don't want to assume too much, but I know what I know is that okay. I can agree with that. Women are the ones always staying at home that are doing the protecting of the child. Yes, I can agree with that. But I'm saying genuinely, both parents are doing the protecting. That's what I'm saying. One way or the other, in one shape or form.
Again, I'd say that women are doing it more. How can you say if women are with the child?
Again, you're trying to downplay men in society. That is not actually fair. You being a man.
Downplaying. You asked me a question, and we both agreed that women are with the child more. So therefore, technically, you can't say the man is doing it more if he's not as present. I don't see how you're thinking that's downplaying. That's literally the case.
Okay, yes, okay. Men not being as present. Okay, are you saying that men work all through the day? That's what you're saying.
No, you asked me in a typical household of a man and a woman, who is the protector? And I'm saying, well, it would be the woman because they are around the child more. They're engaging with the child more. And you can even take that one step further and say, if the man and woman are both working, or even two parents, two carers, whoever, if the primary caregivers are both working and you are sending that child to a nursery, the majority of nursery workers are women.
I'm not talking about going out. Like I said, I'm not talking about nurse. I'm talking about the parents doing the protecting, not assessing it. That's not my point.
So how is the father protecting? I'm really
I'm
confused.
I'm not saying the father is doing the majority of the protecting. I'm saying that you're making it seem as if the mother is not protecting the child one way or the other. That's my point.
I never said
And,
that.
but you said that the women are the one doing most of the protecting. I said both of them are doing most of the protecting. But yes, I can agree that okay, I don't know the statistics. I can agree with that. I can agree from what you said that okay, women are the ones always around the child. So yes, I can give you that. That's just the truth. Men are the ones going out to work, obviously, in a traditional setting.
Okay.
Yes. But my point is that I don't really agree that you're like trying to like downplay that men don't do protection at all in the household. That's just my point. I'm not saying women don't do that.
Again, all I'm trying to say is that men have always been called the protectors, and I'm trying to understand how. And I've had no examples. The only examples you give me is military and police force, and I've then given you a counterpoint to say that women are in more protective roles than men are. So I'm still not hearing anything of any examples how men are the protectors, but we can give plenty of examples of how men are causing disproportionate harm. So this isn't having a go at men or telling men they're useless and they're worthless. This is just recognizing that men being given the label protectors has always been privilege for men. That's actually benefited them so much over the years. But why haven't women?
In what way, like benefiting men in what way that are protectors? In what way?
The fact that men can go up to women if they're going on a date and she can say, "What do you bring to the table?" and he goes, "Well, I'm a protector, aren't I? I'm a man." And she can just
that does not really count. Saying you're a protector, because most of the time is the military people that are doing the protecting, not you as a man doing the protecting.
If a man's going to talk to a potential partner and tell her that he can protect her and he will protect her, that's something he can say as a man because that's how men are seen in society. That's what patriarchy has done with conditioning. So that's benefited men. It's not exactly gone against men to be like, "Oh look, there's a man. He must be a protector." That's never been seen as a bad thing, has it? So,
like you just said, not all men are protected. Like you just said, I'm trying to be okay. If I'm going on it with a lady, I can't say I'm a protector. But what does that even mean? Maybe I can tell you, I can provide financial security one way or the other for you. I can't say I'm a protector. I'm not a military man. That's the truth.
I think what I'm trying to get at is why are women not called protectors?
I think the reason why men are called protectors is because of just actual crime. That's the truth. Because of crime, because of the violence and everything. That's why men are called protectors.
Of what, sorry?
I'm saying that the reason men are called protectors is because of the violence, the crime, and everything. Because men are the ones doing the protecting from crime and everything. That's just my point. That's why they are called protectors.
So men are called protectors because of violence and crime?
I'm saying the stuff that comes from men going to fight wars, protecting citizens from crime, like actual violence.
Again, it's on the basis that men are causing these wars and crimes in the first place.
I'm answering your question. You're saying why men are called protectors. I'm asking why men are called protectors. The stereotype comes from because men go to war. Men protect people from crime and violence. That was my point.
We need to be clear. Men don't go to war. Men start war. Okay, men start war, and then during that war, families get torn apart. Women, children get kidnapped, raped, essayed. That's
okay. I have a question. Do you think wars were necessary for us to be here?
No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was ever necessary.
Why do you think so?
Because it's just done through greed. It's done through greed. It's done through power and dominance, and men wanting to have more than what they supposedly already have.
So you think that you think that because you think that greed is not good. Greed generally is not a good thing.
When it comes to what it's caused in regards to wars, no.
I can't say war is a good thing, yes. But I'm saying that war was a necessary evil for us to be here. That's what I say.
How do you know that? You can't
I don't.
predict. You can't predict.
According to what because I'm kind of person that like geopolitics. I have read about war and everything, but I can't see war is a good thing. No, because war comes with a lot of violence and everything. Like you just said, grip and everything. I can't say war is a good thing in general, but I'll say that war was a necessary evil for us to be here. That's what I'm saying.
It wasn't.
Okay, oh, you can disagree with me, no problem. But I'll just tell you that.
Okay. I mean, I will never say how or agree that that is necessary. You have no idea how life would have been when, what was it, 300,000 years?
Years
And
ago.
we only 300,000 years, right? But yet only like 12 to 13,000 years of patriarchy when things like this kind of begun. So I don't see how, like, we were all fine before that, and then suddenly things started to change.
We don't know that because we were not there. We were not there. We were not there.
Guess what? Well, no, but before patriarchy, we know that there wasn't any oppression on a systemic level. So what came from
What time period? What time period are you talking about?
12,000 years ago during agricultural times? What I'm saying is that the leading of, or the beginning of that led to women being oppressed. It led to women not having rights. It led to women being pushed into gender roles. So that was not necessary to ensure that women were not seen as equals. And along with all of that came wars. So no, I don't see how that's necessary.
You're missing my point. You're just missing my point. I'm saying that war. I'm not like I said before. I'm not saying war is a good thing. I'm condemning war, but I'm saying that war was a necessary evil for us to be. That's what I said. And you're now you're now talking about patriarchy. I'm not talking about patriarchy. I can't say how good what patriarchy has done to women, but you can still see that patriarchy has its good and it has its bad too. That's just the truth.
War is part of patriarchy.
I'm saying that patriarchy is not all perfect, but you can't tell me it's all bad. That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, can you tell me what's good about patriarchy?
Because of it's because of patriarchy that's why we are today now. Industrialization.
Hold on. Hold on. So you're saying that patriarchy is good just because we're alive to see the day?
No, I never said that. No, I'm not. I'm talking about apart from the way
wind scoops. I mean, that could be a prompt. What good has come from patriarchy? That could be one. What do you reckon, Kitty? We've run prompt ideas.
No. Kitty 42, she, her. No. We don't do open-ended questions, we do statements. So don't get me started on prompts. Not here, not now. Anyway, we can discuss it later. There may be a working way.
Yeah, sure.
It's not. Don't derail this.
I'm not. I'm just thinking like, open-ended, like what good's come from it?
Do you know what to do? Put it in the backpack. We'll save it for later and we'll discuss it later.
Oh, that backpack's open.
Now, okay, can I get to the point why I'm here?
Oh, sorry, I thought that was it, to discuss the prompts. But yes, go for it.
I mean, we can do a live discussion of a prompt and let everyone see how that typically goes, but maybe not. So, chat, any personal comments on how someone speaks, including their accent? It can be ableist and racist. Please do not do that. Okay? I can't stress that enough. Please also do not comment on someone's intelligence level. Okay? Also ableist, also classist, also can be racist. Do not do it. Okay, the mod reminders make that very, very clear. If you don't know what ableism is, please go and take the time to research. That was horrible background noise there. Was that me?
I don't know what's going on.
I thought you brought someone else up and there was background noise.
Oh.
Anyway. And yes, that's a brilliant point, Chetna, as well, in regards to this space, as the wonderful Charlotte #1 was making clear, we don't interrupt here. Because if we are interrupting, one, it's not a fruitful discussion. I'm full of really interesting vocabulary today. 2, it also reduces the inclusivity of this space. There are people here that uses various accessibility devices to ensure they can follow what is being discussed. If everyone's interrupting, then what happens is these devices cannot track what's being said. That reduces the inclusivity and accessibility of this space, and that's something we strongly and firmly believe in here. So don't interrupt. Thank you very much. That goes for the mods as well. We know there's lag and things, but we try our best. Yeah, closed captioning as well. Thank you, Astrid. Exactly. So let's just try and work together, not against each other. That would be great. Right. Anyway, I'm leading with love and respect today. We'll see how long that lasts. Can you do Lou a big favour? We're just waiting until it comes through in the comments.
Oh, Chetna.
Oh, Chetna.
Kept that quiet.
Happy birthday, Chetna. Shall we sing? Go on, quickly.
I don't know whether Chetna wants the recognition.
Consensually, Chetna? Can we sing?
Chetna, would you like a song?
Would you like us to sing while we're up here, Chetna? But thanks, Kat. I don't. Happy birthday, Chetna. We'll leave it with that. And if Chetna lets us know, we can all sing it in the evening if Chetna's here.
There we go.
Okay, please drop me.
Take care. Thank you, Kitty.
Thank you, Lex.
Bye.
Bye.
Guardian. Go on. It's not in masculine to sing host. It's not in Sorry, H, I'm not quite sure what you mean. Applesin. Nope. Davis, Asian pronouns, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
26, he, him. Been there like twice before. It's not necessarily a disagreement. It's just like, I just want to know what you mean by this to further develop my understanding. So, can you explain what you mean behind don't mention misandry until there's no misogyny?
Yes, I think misandry is just Darvo. And if you want to look up what Darvo is, if you don't know, DARVO, essentially it's trying to just switch the victims around and make out that men are the ones that are now on the receiving end of something systemically harmful that they're all experiencing when they're not. So for me, if men want to try and talk about misandry, they need to show that they care about misogyny, because misogyny would quite literally remove that if it was to something that exists. I don't think it exists. I don't think it's a thing. I think someone just kind of being mean to another man is like just, someone being mean. It's not really something that does anything more than that, right? If a man goes into a live and a woman's like, I hate men, the man just scrolls off the live and nothing happens, right? It's not about him individually or personally. Whereas women are experiencing misogyny every single day in all different sectors of the way they operate in the world. So it's not something they can avoid. Misandry is something that men could just avoid if they wanted to, especially by what they're defining as misandry. What they're defining as misandry, I also think is just misogyny misdirected. So I don't think misandry exists.
I think like misandry is kind of the same concept, but the roles reverse. I would just like, I know that obviously, how do I say it? So misandry or sexism against men, it happens on a much, much more microscopic scale than misogyny, especially when misogyny happens like even passively, not just actively, right?
Mm-hmm.
I still think that we can focus on two at the same time, even though one's at a smaller scale. And it's like you said, right? Like you can't really tackle the subject of misandry unless you also tackle the subject of misogyny. So I agree with that. But I think like, in my opinion, we can still keep that in the back pocket. But it's more like, if I'm not going to associate with a woman hater, why would I associate with a man hater?
Can you give me an example of something that would be a representation of misandry? Just one small example.
So one example. So obviously this will play on your point, but whenever I maybe hear my peers like, examine a prejudice about men, right? I can't remember an example quite specifically, but it's almost like it was the same thing I heard about one of my fellow male peers say something about women, where I think it's obviously not the same scale, but I think it's the same concept and principle.
Davis, I just need one example. So give me an example of something that was said or done that was an example of misandry.
I can't recall one specific example.
Okay. It's difficult to continue that part of the conversation, right? Because if you wanted an example of misogyny, we could be here all day. So if misandry was something that was that, is the word prevalent or common, then we could obviously have some examples to work with. But I can't really continue the conversation without them.
Okay.
Don't mean that disrespectful. I mean, like, men will give examples of something like, oh, a woman hosting a live saying unalive all men, right? Or something like that. Like that's an example that some men have given as to what misandry is. My response to that would be, okay, do you think they're doing that for no reason? Like, do you think this woman or individual has woken up and gone, I'm just going to do that because why not? Or do you think there's a reason why they would feel that way to want to, host a live that has something like that on it? And I would say every single person who is, saying something like that or has some kind of a message that's against men would be because of experiences they've had from men or patriarchy in itself. And so if you're trying to then say misandry needs to go away, you need to look at what is causing this so-called misandry anyway, when actually it's just reactions to the misogyny that women and femme-presenting people are experiencing. So you can't go up to women and say, stop being misandrists, when it's almost like, well, you're giving them reasons to be. Men are literally creating that. It all comes back down to men. Does it come back down to you individually, Davis? No, not necessarily, right? Because you might not have been the cause as to why other women go, oh, I hate all men. But it doesn't represent society and the system that we live under, where women experiencing that misogyny every day is inclusive of any men that are around them or the systems that are upheld and put in place by men that benefit men. So until we see that change, we can't exactly, that's where the Darvo comes in. We can't go up to women and say, no, you can't say this about us because that's hurtful to us. And it's like, well, hold on a minute. You're now basically telling women you can't react to the misogyny in a certain way because you're now going to be affected. So you're placing yourself as the victim.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, my bad. I guess like I tried to approach this in good faith, like
yeah, I'm not going to go at you.
Like I said, like it's just more of like the principle of it. But no, I definitely understand where you're coming from. Like, sure, like what might be interpreted as misandry. Sorry, how do I say this? Like, there might be like maybe some mean comments at best, right? Or at its largest. But basically, and this is what I'm trying to understand, right? So the takeaway is that there's not really any proven or discovered systematic like oppression towards men. So that's why like, you don't think misandry exists, or misandry is something that doesn't come into fruition.
Yeah, I think ultimately, if you know that you're not actively being part of the problem, then when you hear women expressing how they feel about men, you know that that's not necessarily about you, but it's about the behaviors of men out there that have caused that. And if you know you're not one of those men, then you'd be able to empathize with women's experiences at the very least, to sort of go, wow, for them to feel that way, something bad must have happened, or something bad is happening. Because otherwise, why would women just want to say those things about men for no reason, right? And that's where you start to demonstrate that you're either part of the solution by focusing then on unpacking misogyny and calling out people around you who are being misogynistic, as opposed to thinking, how can I, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but as opposed to thinking, how can I focus on women's behavior? You know, because women's behavior is only on the basis of what men have created. Men didn't oppress women because women were collectively trying to do something against men in history. Like they weren't. Women weren't sort of saying, hey, we're going to take over if you don't listen to us. And then men went, oh, this is the danger of women having power or having a voice. We better stop it. No. Men just gradually decided to implement things that pushed women into certain roles that was more beneficial to men than women. And that continued to uphold with rights being introduced, not for women. Laws, legislations, etc. You know, like we're the ones that invade and you know, colonize and dominate and take over the land. So we're the ones that are going to have to say so. You know, not realizing just how much of an input women had when they were still at home and what they were doing to keep the world and everything running themselves, but just more like we're putting our lives at risk here, as opposed to comparing it to what women were doing instead and thinking we should have more of a say. Women weren't collectively doing that towards men. So that's where we have to look at for the roots, is men's behaviors in history have led to where we are today. How are we going to find a way to solve it? Certainly not by focusing on the ways that women are reacting to their misogyny. Because that reaction so far is words on a screen. And that is, in comparison to what women are experiencing, that's nothing.
Yeah, I guess when the comments pointed out that I really couldn't define one example of what I saw as misandry.
Yeah.
But obviously, like, you and I can say a lot of examples of misogyny. Again, like, I think, like, it, you know, like, I think I should correct myself, you know, saying, like, like, if there was, like, you know, systematic oppression towards men, then that could be claimed. But obviously there's not. But obviously the inverse is much, much more true, and we've obviously seen it. So yeah, I think I just came in with one thing, but now I understand, like, much more on the viewpoint of why misandry doesn't exist, because there's just no history behind it.
That's it. And that's why it's not systemic, right? Because women weren't collectively thinking, let's put rights in place that police men's bodies. Let's put rights in place that limit men's freedom, you know? So yeah, that's what we have to look at. You know, I appreciate you being respectful and listening.
Yeah, like I said, like, I've requested just to develop my understanding. Like,
Yeah.
It's not my first rodeo here, and you know, I'll run into some, I guess, some two misunderstandings here and there. I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk more about is the all men until no men
Yep.
prompt. So could you explain to me what that means?
Yeah, so all men hold on to misogyny and have a responsibility to unpack it. Women's biggest form of oppression is gender-based violence. And so women being wary and cautious of all men is completely understandable. And, you know, men say all men until no men, they just say it slightly differently. I think if you were to ask a lot of men whether they would prefer a man or woman to babysit their, you know, 4-year-old daughter, I think the majority of men would say a woman. I think that if there are, you know, young men out there that want to go, where their girlfriends want to go clubbing without them, I think the majority of the time those men would be more worried about that because of other men's behavior that could be around them. Now, they know that not every man is going to cause harm, but they also know how men behave, and it's enough for them to think, oh, like, I'm worried about you, or cautious, wary, anxious about you going clubbing when I'm not there because of how other men might be around you. which is the same thing, right? You're worried about other men's behavior, so you recognize all men until no men because you don't know which ones. Same as if you're walking down the street. And I think this is the key one that I'll say, Davies, right? Is this is how men need to decenter themselves from the all men until no men, okay? Because all men until no men includes you in the conversation, but it doesn't accuse you of the violation. So let's say you're walking down the street and a woman's walking towards you. I would say on average, she's probably more likely to feel uncomfortable in that situation than you are. Would you agree with that?
Sorry, I was kind of lost there. So,
So
can you repeat that one more time? What do you think I agree with?
You're walking down the street, there's no one around, it's late at night, and a woman's walking towards you, and you both have to walk past each other. I would say on average, she would probably feel more uncomfortable with that than you will.
Yeah, because of maybe like the preconceived notions of like what could happen to her.
Yeah.
Right.
So the way we decenter yourself in this is, let's say that we substitute you out of that hypothetical, and we put me in there. Right? I'm walking down the street and she's walking towards me. Again, I think on average, she will feel more uncomfortable than I will. And the point is you could keep on doing this and say, right, let's do a different man. Let's do a different man. But I think every time you do that, if you don't know what man you're going to get, which is pretty much the case, right? She doesn't know. She's probably going to feel more wary and cautious in that situation than he is. And so that's...
Yeah, I was censoring the woman in there too. Because like you said, like it could be me, you, or any one of us men, right?
That's it, right? That's why we decenter ourselves, because we recognize this isn't an attack on us individually, but it's just that collectively men have created this environment or this society where their behaviors have led to women being wary and cautious of all men. So if we've got anyone to be angry at, again, it should be at the men. But instead, we start thinking women can't generalize and women can't say this about men. And it's like, that's easy for you to say because that's male privilege.
Right, like, you know, like why should we blame women for wanting to protect themselves? All right, because like we know that we're safe, but no one else knows that. Yeah. So I guess maybe this is not in our place to answer, but I'll ask it anyway. So I think when do you think like the no men part ideally, this is like a hypothetical, like in a scenario where like what do you think should happen for women to be able to trust men? Like it's no longer the all men part on the line now. Now that, can you see a path where we reach to like the no men part?
Yeah, the harm needs to massively reduce. Like we're living in a global femicide. I think it's 1 in 3 women will experience some form of SA in their lifetime. There's loads of statistics. I believe DV is 1 in 4, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. I think that might be for 18 to 25-year-olds, might be 1 in 5. So yeah, the harm across the board needs to change. And the way that would also change would be the patriarchal system we live under. You know? So we all have to contribute in ways to try and make that change. And there's enough men out there that just don't care enough for that. Let me bring Staples up. I think Staples wants to add to the conversation. Hi, Staples.
Hello, 44 she here. I know you've been very respectful guest. So you said perhaps it wasn't for you to, you were mindful of the fact that you were sort of trying to understand when it would be so from a personal level, like things like being able to walk down the street at night feeling safe, being able to go to the doctors and not them ask my husband for his opinion on my medical treatment. And that's as a cis white woman. Brown women face much more medical misogyny than we do as white T women. So those are just like a couple of ways, like equal pay, not being oppressed in the workplace. It's going to take a while. Because there's some, no matter where we go each day, whether it's to go to the gym, whether it's to go to work on public transport, whether it's to go to a doctor's appointment, there's some kind of system in place in all of those places which is harmful in some way, whether that's physical harm or a barrier to us succeeding. That's still currently so prevalent that we're a long, long way off it. And it starts with small changes from men, like holding their friends accountable, and like what Lex is doing, having spaces like this so that it becomes the norm for us to be able to have these conversations in a safe environment, because we're not safe at the moment.
Do you think that's sorry, so do you think it's more of like an invisible type of whereas like it's not like codified into legality, although I know like some like societies do that, like mainly, for example, like in Afghanistan, right, like women can't get an education above a 6th grade level. I've read on that, and that's like an example of something that's visible, like, codified into their law. So is the medical misogyny example, well, for example, do you think is that part of like, maybe that's a systemic thing that we don't see at first?
Potentially, like I can only talk for like, I'm not going to get into countries where I don't live, but you mentioned like the States. So obviously there's the whole AB issue there, and women don't have medical or bodily autonomy. And there's cases where just this week where women with endometriosis have died from sepsis because they weren't able to get treatment when they miscarried, and it retained products. But also things like in the UK, medical misogyny is just as rife. Like I needed a hysterectomy as a life-saving thing, and they asked my husband if he was done having a family, like things like that, rather than this person won't survive this. And it's small things like that, like when you go for like contraception is a talk and a burden for the woman in this country, and things like that. The way pain relief is managed is different for men and women and femme presenting people, and until things like that are addressed. And even medicines that women take aren't tested generally on women, or products that like feminine hygiene products aren't used for women until the last couple of years, bearing in mind we've needed to use some form of them for the whole of time. It's only very recent. So there's many ways it exists. And like you say, some are really visible. Some is, as a woman that had a lot of internalized misogyny, I didn't realize until they personally affected me, which is hugely privileged on my part. So it's understandable you perhaps wouldn't know, or, but once you start to see these things, and perhaps you, like, if you're coming into live spaces like this and going into women's spaces, on lives, just to be very clear, but like you will start to see a pattern of like, you will see much more about like these inequalities basically. And as for the legal ones, whilst there are laws in place in different countries, and it's a global issue and each country has different laws, but show as a country and there would be a law there that women haven't caught up yet to men, and that's not through lack of trying on women's behalf. It's been a managed thing. And like Bex has said, like we're conditioned to think like extreme pain is normal for us, and things like you don't have, if you reproductive health is treated very much as a men's issue, in that until it affects a man, it doesn't get treated for a woman.
So yeah, I took in what you said. I think there is a problem, at least in the States. I have no skin in the game in other countries, of course. Not even a home country. On that, like, we have women whose bodies are diagnosed by men who have they can't really have like a firsthand understanding of a woman's body because their bodies operate differently. I think that one solution at least, might be to employ more women's doctors that have like an understanding, so that they'll get. So I guess medical misogyny isn't there, but I think on the men's end too. How do you think like they could get a better understanding of what they're dealing with to avoid such things such as medical misogyny? Like, how basically my simple question is like, what can men or male doctors do to basically prevent, mitigate, or dismantle medical misogyny?
Listen to the patient, sadly, and not like, and quite often it's the case that they're not listened to. There are systems in place that they should listen, but quite often what you'll come up against is because it's been this way for years, or and there are constraints based on things like healthcare systems, but you touched upon it when I can only speak from personal experience, but my experience with a female gynecologist versus a male one was very different. One that understood what a cycle. We're not one thing that it's great that you're asking about solutions. That's what we want, and teaching everybody about reproductive health at school, instead of sending them out, dividing the class into different groups and sending them out so that we all understand. Because I can tell you, I didn't know about the menopause until I was reaching an age near it, or we don't, even as women, we don't get taught these things quite often. I couldn't have told you what my cycle was in school until I was older, and I needed to know as part of like trying to conceive. So as women, we perhaps don't even know these things. So better education about reproductive health and about our own bodies, and at the same time, things then in that way, consent can be taught at the same time.
Okay.
Because that's a conversation everyone should be involved in, yeah? And it should be a mutual understanding that everybody has of consent. So that would be a great time to introduce it when you're talking about the body and how that can affect it.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate you providing a little more insight about something that wasn't on the prompts. So I appreciate that. I'll just take all that in and just reevaluate what some things that I might be thinking initially. That probably isn't outward. Sorry.
No, I was going to say I'll mute, but if you ever want to know, you sound really inquisitive and want to know how to be supportive. So if you ever want to know any resources, apart from being in the space, please feel free to message, and I can send you lots of information about women's health that would make you a great ally and advocate in many spaces, and just understanding for yourself. So perhaps you can understand why people are behaving a certain way at different times. It can give you a lot of context. So I'll mute anyway, but thank you for being really respectful and inquisitive.
Yeah, for sure. No, I appreciate that. I'll reach out soon. But yeah, also, if you have any new prompts, Lex, maybe I'll stop by and just like for you to walk it through for me again and see if like there's like any misunderstandings that I should probably extinguish. Obviously, like, yeah, like it kind of feels a little jarring when you're practically a grown man and you don't really know all this stuff.
How old did you say you were?
Sorry?
How old did you say you were?
26.
If it helps, I didn't get the concept of patriarchy or misogyny spoken to me until I was maybe 30.
Yeah.
I was brought up on watching programs like 2.5 Men throughout my whole 20s, let's say, and if you ever wanted to try and understand more about misogyny, when you've been exposed to understanding what misogyny is and how it plays out, go and rewatch that. Like, look, I'm not saying you should, as in like, it's a good thing to consume, but I'm saying if you're ever trying to educate yourself on identifying behaviors, right, there's ways that can be done where it's not sort of I don't think tedious is the word, because ultimately, it's not about it being tedious. It's a serious thing, right? But like, I was brought up on the sitcom Friends, Now, the amount of problematic behaviors that are in there, like, you can just see how the programs that were even pushed on as, well, not pushed on, but became very popular, let's say, once you see it, it's hard to then unsee. You start rewatching things and sort of going, oh my gosh, like even that in itself, look how that's just patriarchal examples of behaviors and dynamics between maybe men and women. Like, it's all there. It really is all there. So again, you're never too late to kind of learn and understand. Just as Lifting said there, you know, socialized from birth, boys will be boys, you know. When I was at school, if ever there was a boy, and I say this because the majority of the time it was boys, but if there was ever a boy that was misbehaving, what was the punishment? Go and sit next to the girl that was very sensible. You know, go and disrupt her education. Like, you know what I mean? It's like what's seen as a punishment for him ends up being a punishment for her. So we don't think of it because in school, when you're kind of seeing that happening, most of the conditioning that started already set makes you sort of go, oh yeah, I don't want to have that happen. I don't want to go and sit, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather sit next to who I'm already talking with, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's how you start to see how girls' education begins to get affected as well. So we could be here all day, but I've probably got to come off in a bit, Davis, but you are, as always, more than welcome to come back. I'll be live this evening, and then I'll probably be live on maybe Wednesday afternoon as well. So you know where I am.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate your time.
Take care, Davis. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, that's all we've got time for this afternoon. We will be live again later at 7:30 p.m. UK time. Apologies, yeah, I might look a bit sleepy today. 5:45 today.